Hello?
Hello, sir. How are you?
All right.
This is John Felix.
What can I do for you?
Is this News Now Houston?
Yes.
I just got a message from someone who gave me your phone number, said you would like to speak with me, and I also would love to speak with you.
Yeah, I just put together who you were. It took me a second. Sorry.
Sure.
I get
Bombarded.
50 calls a day.
Yes, I believe it.
And emails and,
Yes, sir.
given what I do. So, you're up to speed on,
Oh, let me ask you first. Do you mind if I record and publish this, make it like a small interview? Because I've been watching you for a long time. I would love to ask you some questions and stuff.
Sure, absolutely.
All right.
The only thing I'll ask is that you don't publish it till Monday.
Till Monday. No problem.
Yeah. And the reason for that is I've got an update that I'm trying to get up, and it's going to be a two-parter. I'm going to get part of it up today and part of it up tomorrow or Sunday. So, but because we're going to be talking about this incident here in Houston, I don't want to
Okay, now as far as
ruin my update.
As far as sure, I promise I won't publish it till Monday. As far as me being up to speed, I would say no. I got about 40% of the story, and let's hash it out right here, right now. Tell me everything you know about it and the facts, and we'll go from there, if you don't mind.
Okay, give me just a second.
Sure. Been watching you for years, by the way.
Well, I'm glad. I actually have probably seen some of your stuff, but honestly, there's so many people on YouTube now active with it. It's hard to keep track of everybody.
Sure.
So, all right. So let me grab a drink here, and I'll sit down and bring you up to speed.
Yes, please. Just so everyone knows, we're talking about the Houston PD SWAT team raid on a alleged heroin dealer's home, which they raided, if I understand correctly, several men in plain clothes without body cams raided a home, which was the home of a man and a wife who have been living there for many, many decades, and every neighbor that was interviewed said they don't believe that they got the right people, and those people were not drug dealers, and they knew them for years and years and years. And the one neighbor said they spoke on the phone every single day. I'm just babbling, obviously.
That's all right. So here's where it starts. All right, it kicked off Monday with the shooting, and we didn't have a lot of information.
Right.
They were giving multiple street addresses. One was on Hardin Street where the shooting took place, and the other was on Hardy, Hardy.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there was a lot of confusion, but and they were refusing to give us the warrant so we could look at the warrant. The next day, while I was out in the field, I had been trying to get the warrant, and they were refusing to give it. Well, they decided to release it. And once they released the warrant, then we had, the information that they actually did hit the correct home. That was their target. But the warrant raised a whole bunch of other issues. And is this a phone number where I can text you?
Sure.
Okay. When I get off the phone, I'll text you the warrant.
Okay.
So what they did is they had a incident at this home. Somebody's daughter was there, and this mother called the police and said there are drug dealers are in there selling drugs and shooting drugs and all this stuff. And the police came out and were unable to verify any of that information. And that should have been the end of it. Instead, it was passed on to narcotics. Narcotics started watching the location. They didn't really get anything, so they decided to do an undercover buy. So they brought in a confidential informant, which is basically one of two things. Somebody they pay to go in and do these buys, or somebody, and this is the more likely scenario, somebody that they have busted with drugs and, rather than go to prison,
right,
they make a deal to work for the cops. Now, either way, these people only have incentive to
for themselves.
Yes.
For their own best interest.
not for the truth, not for
correct
justice, not for any of that. It's
right.
strictly about them, especially if it's somebody that's been compromised by, having, jail held over their head.
That should disqualify him right off the bat, in my opinion.
I agree.
All right.
So this HPD officer that's overseeing this guy says that he searched him, made sure he didn't have any drugs on him, which I kind of feel is bullshit, but whatever. And they send him over to the house. He goes to the house and buys black tar heroin. Now, most drug dealers I know, and I don't know very many, but I do know some, don't deal with strangers like that. You don't just walk up to somebody's door, knock on the door, and say, "Show me heroin." As a matter of fact,
I've never seen heroin in my life, and I've been around people who've done drugs and known plenty of drug dealers. That drug alone is a rare occurrence, in my opinion. Could be wrong.
And honestly, I don't do any drugs myself, so I don't know. And the very few drug dealers I know are just people that pass me information about stuff, so I don't associate with them. But I don't believe that heroin is very uncommon, but neither do I believe it to be common. So, all right, so the informant goes, makes the buy, comes back, gives it to the officer. The officer files for the warrant.
But now let me ask you, is that not just hearsay?
Well, yeah, it is to me, but they give it enough validity to get a warrant. So they get the warrant.
Okay.
They go to the house.
Mm-hmm. In plain clothes.
There's 14 or 15 officers there. 7 of them are undercover officers in plain clothes, and those are the ones that entered the home.
Okay.
And then there are 6 or 7 patrol officers.
In uniform.
They kick in uniform, yes,
okay.
But they're out on the street. They're not going in the house yet. They kick the door open, come in. Mr. Tuttle, the homeowner, is in the kitchen, which is down a little hallway in the back of the house.
Sure.
He's back there with his dog. His dog comes running to the front door. It's a Rottweiler. And the first officer in had a shotgun and shot and killed the dog.
Of course.
From what the neighbors tell me, there were 2 very loud booms. There was one lady that was standing there watching the whole thing happen.
Okay.
And she said there were 2 very loud booms. That would be the shotgun, the officer with the shotgun, and then 2 smaller pops. I'm guessing that's Mr. Tuttle shooting at them.
With a .357 revolver, correct?
Okay, again, what I hear is he had a .357 Magnum revolver, but it was loaded with .38 special ammunition. Not that it matters.
Well, okay. I have a question about that. If you mind me interjecting real quick?
No, go ahead.
So 4 cops get shot. 2 of them get critically shot. The other 2 just get shot, whatever that means. And this guy has a 5 or 6 shot .357, and he did all that damage. He did all that damage with the revolver.
It gets better. Okay, so he got off. According to them, he got off 6 shots. I found 2 misses. I found 2 bullet holes that were exit holes from the house.
Okay.
Everything else is ingoing.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, I've got close-ups of it and stuff. But anyway, so they're saying this guy got off 6 shots and hit 4 different officers while he's being shot from 3 different directions.
Yeah, right. And then now let me ask you this, because on your video, the bullet, you had the entry holes a good 3 feet to the right of the entryway.
Yeah.
So some officer or somebody is shooting in that 3 feet to the right of the door. Now, to me, it would seem like if there's officers inside the house already, who are they shooting at? They're shooting through a wall.
Well, so we're coming to that here in just a second.
Okay.
All right. So in the process of the exchange of gunfire, Mrs. Tuttle, Miss Nichols, walks through the living room. The first officer, the one that shot the dog, took a round to the shoulder and went down. He went down. If you were at the front door looking in, he went to the left. He went down and left out of the line of fire. She comes out of a bedroom, which is immediately to the right, crosses the gunfire to the officer, is leaning over him. She's down over him trying to get his gun. Now, this is what they say.
Right.
And at that point, she was shot and killed. So.
Okay, go on.
I don't know if you've ever done any time in the military or done any tactical shooting or whatever, but that is a no-no. How do you hit her and not hit the officer that's down?
They probably just impulsively shot her when she came in and then made that story.
Yeah.
But, that's just a theory. I can't prove it, obviously. Yeah. That's the problem, especially when there's no body cams.
You'd be amazed what you can prove when you start looking at the evidence.
Personally, I can't.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been in the house. Okay. I've seen the blood spatter. I've seen the blood stains.
I'm listening.
All right, so they engage him, kill him. They've already killed her or shot him.
Mm-hmm.
They're laying there bleeding. The guys had retreated and now come back again, go in, get the officer who is laying right next to her, drag him out, and leave her laying there for 2 hours, bleeding to death.
Was she still alive at that point, you think?
We don't know.
Right.
We don't know. There's no camera footage.
We'll never know.
Idea.
Okay,
we'll never know, exactly.
Okay.
Mr. Tuttle was down in the back hallway and also bled to death, died because they left him in there for 2 hours.
Sure. They're not going to help them. They actually defended their home. They don't deserve to live.
That's what the union president says.
Oh, we're going to talk about that piece of scum, too. Go on. Keep going.
Okay, so I went and looked at the house, looked at the actual bullet holes, the entries, and exits, and got video and photographs of it all.
Very good.
So here's what I suspect. I also talked to the guy that the woman, Miss Nichols, was recovering from cancer, and she smoked a little weed. I talked to the guy that actually sells them drugs.
Okay.
And he says they have never bought anything except a little bit of weed, about $10 or $15 worth of weed a month for her to just have a little something.
Right.
And,
so she can have a little freedom and comfort.
Yeah. Yeah. And he says, no way they're selling heroin. He said, that's not what they do. He said, and if they found anything else in there, you can believe that the police planted it. Now, they did find a little bit, a very small amount of cocaine.
Oh, my God.
Well, we're talking about personal use stuff, not what's described in the warrant. They said there were, 30 packages of black tar heroin that the informant saw, a 9mm handgun that the informant saw, a semi-automatic handgun, which was not recovered. They didn't find that. They didn't find the heroin.
They must have flushed it down the toilet.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Yep. You've never flushed a 9mm before? Come on, Dave.
No. Never. Have never been able to get a turd that big down my toilet, but whatever.
Go ahead.
So here's what I believe happened. Okay, and this is all supposition. Now, I will tell you that I talked to Art Acevedo this morning.
Okay.
He did a press conference yesterday, and just kind of indirectly made some comments about me. I knew who he was talking about, but there's I was working with the Houston Chronicle and Channel 13 here locally on this, because they have editors and managers. They're forbidden to go in the house. I'm not.
Right.
They were forbidden to go over to that other house, the other one that we suspected was the right house. I was not. So by working with them, I could get them stuff that they couldn't get any other way. But Acevedo addressed a lot of the things that we believed was going on, or whatever, and he did a pretty good job of it. And I'm actually going to post that press conference here probably a few hours before I get it up, but it'll be up tonight or first thing in the morning.
So you're sure that they did hit their house they intended to hit?
Yes,
and then the house
that is listed on the warrant.
And then the other house that fit the description of hardened and upgraded surveillance equipment, that just happens to be a house that fit the description?
Oh, not only that, it's a drug house.
Right.
It's a known drug house. Yeah,
right.
Go figure.
Well, so that wasn't the house they were intending to hit. They were actually intending to hit the house with the man and his wife living there.
That was the intended target. It's just coincidentally that the address and the street name were similar, and it turns out to be a drug house.
That is a huge coincidence.
It is, but stranger things have happened.
Okay,
so
all right, fair enough.
It is what's listed on the warrant, so I'll just go with that.
Okay.
So here's what I believe happened. Confidential informant getting threatened with jail. He brings a little bit of heroin with him, goes over, knocks on these people's doors, talks to them for a minute. They're old people. They're handicapped people.
In their 60s?
Chats with them for a few minutes, goes back to the undercover officer, hands him the black tar heroin that he brought with him, and says, hey, I bought it there. Here's what they got, blah, 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 blah. Cops get their warrant. They come out. Okay, so the TV, after that shooting Monday, after they processed the crime scene, the house was wide open. The TV was still on. It was on when they raided the house, but it had been muted. And I asked a lady down the street who's over at that house all the time, had been there the day before, as a matter of fact. And she said that they play that TV very loud because he was hard of hearing. Additionally, there is a window unit air conditioner in the kitchen. And I'm assuming that thing is pretty loud, and that's where he's at. So here we have this TV blaring, the window unit going, a guy that's kind of hard of hearing, and boom, the door explodes open, whether they announce themselves or not. And I'll give them benefit of the doubt and say they did. But whether they did or not, this guy doesn't hear. This guy doesn't hear it. All he sees is a guy walk through the door with a shotgun, kill his dog.
In plain clothes.
In plain clothes. And he may have been wearing a raid vest. Okay, but from the front, when you have a gun in front of you shooting a dog, you're not going to be able to read anything that's on that vest.
Yeah, there's a gunman in my house. There's a gunman in my house.
All he knows is a guy with a gun at my front door killing my dog.
Right.
What would you do?
What would I do?
I would do exactly what you do.
Except I would use a far superior weapon. That's the only difference.
I concur, but he's an old guy. He used what he had at hand.
I hear you.
He owned 4 guns. He owned 2 shotguns. I think one of them was a 410, one of them was a 20 gauge. They're both pumps. A 22 rifle and that 357 pistol.
I hear you.
So he used what he had at hand. And their whole thing about, they say that this lady comes running through the gunfire and tries to grab the gun from the officer that's down. She didn't need to do that. She was in the bedroom where their guns were, the shotguns were.
I actually believe that.
She had them.
Never.
Yeah. She was where the guns were. She didn't need to cross over there and try and take his gun.
Dude, no one's going to run through gunfire anyway. That's so ridiculously absurd.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I believe she's not knowing what's going on, stepped out of the bedroom into the line of fire and they killed her.
I wouldn't even think she would step out. She's not hard of hearing, is she?
No, but she doesn't know where the shots are or where they're going or who's doing it. She just steps out and boom. We'll know when we get the coroner's reports.
Okay.
And there'll be toxicology as well, so we can see if they actually used cocaine.
Sure.
Or if that's something that maybe was planted.
Sure.
Let's see. I think that's it. I give you all the information I have.
All right. So, can I ask you some stuff about you?
Sure.
Are you from Texas originally?
I was born in Florida and moved to Texas when I was 9 years old.
What part of Florida?
Orlando.
Okay. And you were, I was told you might have been former police or military or both?
Both.
Okay. And why'd you stop doing that? Or did you stop?
I did.
Okay.
I got out of the military. I worked in federal law enforcement briefly, and then I got in trouble with the law myself. And so I could not work. I couldn't continue that work.
Okay. I wanted to ask you something. I'm going to ask you something off the record later on. So what do you do now other than be a journalist?
Well, see, the whole picture thing, I've taken pictures around public buildings for years and never had a problem. And I would sell them as B-roll footage to networks and whatever.
Very good.
And I kept seeing the YouTube videos where guys getting stopped and detained and arrested for taking pictures. I just laughed. I figured they had edited out the part where they initiated it, or
right,
and
where they instigated it.
Yeah.
But that's not the case.
I'm very pro law enforcement. Okay. Everybody says I'm a cop hater. I'm not a cop hater.
Well, you're pro constitutional law enforcement. You're not pro corrupt cop.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
There, for some reason, a lot of people in this country can't differentiate between the two. I don't understand. I expose bad cops. Why are you mad at me? I should be a hero.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but as you've seen with that union boss down here.
Oh yeah, let's get into him.
Unions,
yeah,
the police unions hate accountability.
His name's Joe Gimaldi or Gamaldi?
Gamaldi.
So Joe Gamaldi, am I understanding of this right, that he was a former New York cop?
I don't know. I'd have to look up there.
I'll tell you what.
A biograph on, if you Google his name, there's a biograph on him.
Somebody sent me something yesterday, and it looked like a bunch of legal papers out of New York where him and some other cops were involved in an incident where they tackled a black guy outside of a stadium and started calling him an effing N-word. So I'm going to make that video.
I would find that easy to believe.
So if that's true, and that's who is, what is he, vice chief of the union? And
he is the main union guy here, the union president.
No. Now, what does criticizing the police have to do with their botched raid?
Absolutely nothing. And Art Acevedo actually addresses that in the conference that I'm going to publish.
What's he have to say about it?
He said it's bullshit.
Oh, really? And okay, I don't even understand. I don't even understand police unions.
A lot of people talk bad about Art Acevedo, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't like his stance on gun control. I don't like a lot of his politics, but as a police chief, I think he's doing a good job.
Where would you put yourself politically?
Independent.
Okay, but how important is the Constitution?
Very.
It's the most important. Is it
every law we pass and stuff,
starts
everything
there.
Revolve around the Constitution.
Okay, and would you agree with me that we've veered so far off that track that we're not even the America that resembles anything constitutional anymore?
I agree.
Okay. Now, when you say you're pro-police, you mean the guys who are obeying their oath, right?
Yes.
How do you feel about How do you feel about traffic codes, stuff like that, and victimless crimes in general?
So we get into this stuff now, and some of it, it's a generalized question.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to answer when it's generalized. Give me a specific. What about marijuana? Marijuana, who are you hurting smoking marijuana?
Right.
Marijuana is no worse than drinking. Why is it illegal? It's a victimless crime.
Correct.
You're not hurting anybody.
So, okay, now specifically, let's superimpose that on top of traffic. You go a foot and a half past a stop sign. You don't stop. You don't make a complete stop. No one's hurt. Nothing happened. There's no cars around. Now, a guy with a gun says, you owe us X amount of dollars or else we're going to put you in a cage. How do you feel about traffic code? Victimless.
For the most part.
Okay,
but it's a victimless crime, but there is the potential for an accident.
Sure.
So as a group, we consent to obeying these laws while we drive so that everybody can safely move around.
Well,
right.
Hold on, let me stop you there. Who's consenting?
Society as a whole.
I don't consent, though. I just want to travel freely and safely and be responsible for my actions.
Okay, so if nobody stops at stop signs...
Oh, I'm not saying that, David. Here's let me clarify. Okay. I roll through a stop sign. Nothing happens to anybody. Does that give a guy with a gun a right to take my money?
No.
So now I'm 100% with you. We're all traveling on the road, and it should be fully instilled in us that safety is number one priority, and maybe even go through a year of driving training. But the fact that this plastic card, it's like a slave card. You have to have this, whether you want it or not. And they try to say it's an agreement between us and the DMV, but an agreement means both parties mutually consent, and that's not the case. It's done under threat.
You're right.
Okay, so let's move on to. So you started seeing First Amendment auditors, and you're like, "This is a joke." They're cutting out the part where they instigated the cops, and then you found out that no, cops just act stupid when cameras are pulled out.
Well, I found that out the hard way. I got arrested.
And what was the charge?
Failure to ID.
That's okay. That's 3802 in your state, correct?
You are correct.
And that's a secondary charge, correct?
It is, and they sure arrested me for it. So
they kidnapped you basically under color of law.
You are correct.
Okay.
I have audio. My camera continued to run.
Sure.
And they had audio of them talking to the district attorney, and the district attorney's like, "You can't arrest him for failure to ID. He doesn't have to ID."
Correct.
And,
or even have an ID.
So the officer tells the supervisor who directed them to arrest me, and he says, "I don't care." And he said, "We got his driver's license right here," because I had my driver's license on me, my wallet on me. When they cuffed me, they pulled it out, took my license out. So we know who he is, and he says, "I don't care." He says, "Take him inside, run him through APHIS. I don't care what's in his pocket. I want to know who he is. Show him who's boss." That is exactly what he says.
You got that on? You got that recorded?
Yeah, it's
good
on my
for you.
channel.
Good for you. That's again, I've probably seen over 100 of your videos. But go on. So you got arrested for nothing, for obeying the law and engaging in freedom.
Correct.
Okay.
And a couple hours later, they kicked me loose.
Right.
Made a complaint. The chief forced that. Because of the recording I had, the chief of police in that city was outraged, and he forced that sergeant to retire. I went on from there and got arrested at Shell for walking down a public road taking pictures. And
what's the charge?
I pissed the deputy off. Interfering with an investigation because I wouldn't answer questions.
Into what crime?
Pat me down. That's just it. There was none. The charges got dropped.
Right.
But by then,
wait. Stop.
Okay.
The charges got dropped, but you still got kidnapped, right? And falsely arrested.
Yep.
So twice you got falsely arrested.
Yeah.
Do you ever go after them legally, or even have any idea how to go after them legally? Because that seems next to impossible.
It is very difficult. And in that instance, the lawyer said they were covered with qualified immunity.
Qualified immunity, making false arrests. Because why? Because the Supreme Court said they don't have to know the law?
Yep.
Yeah, so they have layers and layers and layers of sovereignty, yet they call us sovereign citizens.
Correct.
Okay. So you got arrested twice, you got kidnapped twice, unlawfully twice in America.
Oh no, I've been arrested.
Right.
6 or 7 times.
Keep going. Tell me more.
Okay. Well, what really got me started though was that second arrest.
Okay.
Because the sheriff's department then, I identified, a couple of bad officers, and made the sheriff's department look bad. So they started harassing me at work, at my real job, until my boss had to let me go. And every job I got after
they caused you economic damage too.
Yes.
By
terrorizing. Every job I got after that, once they figured out where I worked, they would do the same thing over and over again. So I figured, hey, they want me to go do full-time auditing. So that is all I do now. That is my job.
We're talking about Houston PD, correct?
The Harris County Sheriff's Department, which is the county that I was in.
Harris County Sheriff's. Okay. So since they wouldn't let you be employed, basically, and harassing you out of a job, you said, "All right, full-time auditor, here we go."
That's it.
And then, how do you earn a living? Through YouTube?
I have some investments that pay, and I get money from YouTube. Yes.
Okay, very good. And then
I have very very generous subscribers that donate and
how
keep me on the road. So.
How can they donate to you?
Most of my videos in the description, there's a PayPal link and a GoFundMe link.
And the channel is News Now Houston.
Correct.
And you, if I'm not mistaken, you're one of the original people to use the News Now moniker. Am I wrong?
I was the second one. J.C. Playford out in San Diego was the first one.
I love that guy.
Ed Peruta is out of Connecticut, is the one that helped get me started in doing media work. And so when I needed a YouTube channel to get this stuff out, he suggested News Now Houston. So I was the second one, and all the other ones that you see have spun off from me.
Right, that's great. I'm going to call myself News Now John. I like it though, because you know, when you see the news now, you understand what type of person you're probably gonna be dealing with. Constitutionally freedom-minded person, you know.
Yep. Yep.
What else? I mean, I want to ask you something off the record. Anything else you want to say about anything before we go off the record?
No, but I will tell you when you go ahead and get us off the record. But I was going to say, after I post this video of Acevedo doing that press conference, you should pull it, download it from YouTube and tie it to this interview so that people can see it.
Yeah, maybe I can run them back to back or both the same day.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so let's finish this up. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure speaking to you. I'd like to speak to you even off the record anytime you'd like. You can call me, sir. I really appreciate the interview. And everybody, please go and subscribe to News Now Houston. And if you'd like to support him, because he actually goes out in the field, unlike me, I just go to the pool hall and the buffets. So that's about it. And I'm going to thank you, David.